What's going on, guys? This is Miasin and I'm back at it again with OCG Metagame Breakdown number 1. This time a little bigger than the last one, which was Breakdown number 0. Only 71 top performing decks. This time it's basically double, so 148. From 29 tournaments, basically like 9 or 10 days, whatever. In the same countries as usual, pretty much. I mean, it's always the same. It's the OCG, whatever. There's like 5 countries there. Not really. I mean, there's a lot, but whatever. Who cares? Anyways, before we proceed, I would really appreciate you if you could smash the like and subscribe button for me real quick. It really motivates me a lot to keep existing. And now let's get right into it. So Fire King is still looking to be at like 30-something% representation and top cuts, so they're doing really well. Not like tier 0 status, but like it's the best deck by a long shot. Best deck in quotation, by the way. I still think there's like a better deck than Fire King, but whatever, who cares. But yeah, 49 out of 148, that's definitely a pretty big number. And the deck is, you know, it's getting better and better because people are understanding how to build it better and better. Second is Snake Eye, so this deck is always out there in like the top 5 or something. Sometimes it's randomly, I mean, there we go. Here it's in the top 5, and even the last one before, I think it was also in the top 5. There we go, yeah, third best deck. So it's also a very good deck, but it's harder to build, and people are very back and forth on what they want to play in Snake Eye. So it's never the same build, actually. Now, Voiceless Voice, another deck that's always in the top 5. So here it's in the 3rd place, and then here it's in the 4th one, if I recall correctly. There we go. Well, actually, 3rd, tied with Ritual Beast. Even though Ritual Beast is like, sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not there. It depends on the day, it depends on the mood. I want to say it actually depends on the country as well, because not everyone is trying to play Ritual Beast, and not everybody has the brain power to play the deck, because at the end of the day, it is actually extremely complicated to play. Like, you have to consistently be aware of which monster you already special summoned, what's going to be your next play, etc. And the deck does have, like, very major flaws. But, you know, it does play Shifter and Dimensional Fissure, and those cards are a little disgusting, actually. Anyways, Branded Despia, so that's, again, always very good. This is nothing new here. Flunderies is definitely really shocking because it wasn't doing well before. As a matter of fact, in literally every other breakdown, Flunderies was, I mean, there we go. 2 is basically the equivalent of 4 here. But, like, even the other ones, Flunderies wasn't even doing, like, all that well. I don't think they have the Windbearer statue. I mean, they might. I don't think they do. Either way, it might actually be in this breakdown. Yeah, no, I actually think that deck is dog shit. If it doesn't draw, like, Shifter and Robina Access, must be not nice. Your deck sucks. Labyrinth, that deck is alright. It's not super good. It has, like, a very bad matchup against, like, all those 4 decks. No, not Despia, actually. It can win against Despia very easily because of D-Barrier. But it has a very bad matchup against these decks. And even the Flunderies matchup for Labyrinth is, like, not unwinnable. Like, obviously, you can win, but it's very unfavorable. It depends on both players' hands. But, yeah, like, I want to say Labyrinth will usually lose most of its game against Fire King. The matchup is really that bad. I'm not exaggerating. But again, they do have Transaction Rollback and the Rumpel Toyfell, which we will be getting very soon. I mean, Transaction Rollback, we're getting it in a couple of days. And then the other one is in Phantom Nightmare. Anyways, the Rescue Ace, okay, yeah, alright. Still not doing too bad. Runic, Infernoid, I keep saying this deck is very good, but I guess it's like, it's a little easier to stop than like Fire King and Snake Eye, because your 1-card combo gets you to like a lot of interruptions, but if you get stopped, then you're not doing jack. Going second, the deck is extremely powerful, and that's the appeal of playing Infernoid, is because it's one of those decks that going second can break boards with 0 hand traps. As a matter of fact, you don't even want to play hand traps in Infernoid. Like, the correct builds are not playing hand traps. Maybe some board breakers, but that's it. Like, Triple Tactic Thrust is really good in the deck, because if you get a hand trap going first, you can set the Void Feast, and then that summons like 3 monsters on your opponent's turn. Or going second, you can get Instant Fusion into Infernoid Evo. There's so much to do with Infernoid. The deck is absolutely fantastic and super fun as well. I already made like a video on it in the past, but I will be making another one very soon, so don't worry about it. Stay tuned. Exorcister, very good Shifter decks, but that's about it. I mean, outside of Shifter, the deck is a little mid. It's not like super insane. Purely, yeah, that deck went from being insane to being pretty much unplayable. Has a lot of bad matchups, and the fact that they only have one, I don't want to say stupid things, 1 Sleepy and 2 Delicious. It's the exact opposite of what we have. We have 1 Delicious, 2 Sleepy. So they can draw a maximum of 2 cards on your turn. So, you know, we can draw a maximum of 4 cards. And they have, I mean, they have an easier time summoning the, what's his face, the Expurely Noir the hard way with the Delicious. That's the way you would do it on your own turn instead of having to rely on the trap card. So in their build, they're actually playing like 3 chop cards. Whereas here in the TCG, we're only playing 1 because that card is kind of a brick. So the deck is less consistent in the OCG. And you get card advantage way slower. And that would be one of the reasons why Purely is just not doing well. I mean, why play Purely when you can just play these decks instead that are just like so much better? Especially these top 4 decks. They are disgusting. And people, they definitely are innovating with these decks, by the way. I will be going into that very soon. Anyways, after that, we got Ritual Beast. Okay, another decent deck, like I said. Terminal World support, just like Infernoid and Ice Barrier. Salamangreat, that deck also got some indirect support from Phantom Nightmare and some, not really direct support, but like EMP, Gremmeowd, Promethean Princess, a very good card, especially in tandem with Weasel. And there's something else, I believe. Yeah, I forgot, but whatever. Mechanical Infernoble Knight deck that doesn't exist in the TCG because Isolde is banned. Sprite Trap Brigade, okay, Vanquished Soul, Adamancipator with Block Dragon, who cares, Dino, Drytron, Evolite, Dragon Link, Horus Centurion. I can't believe nobody's doing well with Centurion at all in the OCG. It's really shocking, but is extremely fragile at the end of the day. Okay, Horus Chimera, Horus Naturia, Horus Spiral, Horus Super Heavy Samurai, Horus Turion, Holy Mac and Cheese. How many Horus in a row? That is a lot. Ice Barrier, Mekanko. Okay, yeah, Ice Barrier, like I said, very good deck, but people, I think, are not playing it correctly. My build of Ice Barrier is the best one, like by a long shot. This deck is nice, that's all I can say. You can be facing against like Droll and billions of Veilers and not Cure because of my boy Herald of Arclight. Anyway, Salamangreat Math Mech, that is the most confusing thing I've ever seen. Yes, okay, I don't care. Alright, Fire King. What you have to know here is that in the OCG, they are absolutely crazy, and for some reason, they still have Artifact Scythe, which I think is unacceptable. And basically, they don't have to rely on Artifact Sanctum in order to special summon it. They can just set it with the Dagda. And it's not like they want to go like Needle Fiber into TG Wonder Magician to destroy the site. That's what they used to do back in the days and also what we used to do. But Needle Fiber is banned. So what they do in order to summon the site on their opponent's turn is they destroy it using, I forgot, I think it's the Kirin. You destroy your own card. And then you place it in your spell and trap zone with, yeah, it's the Flamberge. And then on the opponent's turn, you summon it with a Flamberge. And then you're locking your opponent. So yeah, you're basically finding a way to like foolish it from deck to grave, but indirectly because you're setting it and then you're destroying it with a Kirin, and then you're placing it and then you're special summoning it. So it's like 4 steps in order to summon a Scythe, but then when you summon Scythe, your opponent can't summon from the extra deck, and that's basically game. And yeah, this card is not fun, and because of Scythe, it makes sense why people are playing Forbidden Droplet, and it makes sense why people are playing Nibiru, because people are now treating Fire King as a combo deck instead of a mid-range deck. They're actually doing things that can pretty much auto-win against you. But even with Artifact's Scythe, it's still more of a side deck option because there's also Lancia that you could do against Ritual Beast, for example. You just turbo out Lancia with the Dagda and then you win. So yeah, I mean, yeah, to be fair, like Scythe or Lancia against Ritual Beast would still be game, but I mean, Lancia is also a hand trap, so that's pretty good. The main deck is very standard, at least for the OCG standards, because they are all playing 3 Snake Eye Ash and 3 Wanted because they're trying to have access to the Snake Eye engine as often as possible. Whereas in the TCG, a lot of players are not really a big fan of the Snake Eye engine. They want to play the Fire King deck as a Fire King deck, which I find to be extremely funny because the Fire King deck has never done well in the OCG, like, at all. It's always been like a Snake Eye deck featuring Fire King cards. Yes, this is going to sound shocking to you, but yeah, I will have to say that this deck gets hard carried by the Snake Eyes. I'm sorry if you think otherwise, but yeah, this is the sad reality. When you draw like a Fire King hand in this deck, it's actually like horrible. And that's the reason why Arvata and Onyx are the one here. If you're playing like the Fire King deck, like literally without the Snake Eyes and stuff, you're playing like 3 Arvata, 3 Onyx, and sure, your deck might have some built-in resilience because you don't really have to combo, you don't lose to Nibiru, you don't lose to much, but you're also not doing much, and that is my issue at the end of the day. You still have some decent matchups, but even if you go second with hand traps, you don't necessarily do like anything. You just go normal summon a monster, and then like you have your negate with the Arvata. That's about it. But yeah, for the extra deck, I mean, there's really nothing else for me to cover here. Everything here makes sense. There is the OTK package with the Raging Phoenix and the Zelantis. Ambler Whale is completely useless. What the hell is it doing here? Appaloosa, Heat Soul, okay, whatever. Double Promethean Princess, only 1 SP Little Knight. In the TCG, I might actually want to play 2 SPs in that deck. and then Phantasme in the side deck, which I find to be a little confusing. I don't really understand why you want to play Phantasme with that many hand traps. By the time your opponent link summons, it's way too late. And that's what I don't really like too much. Yeah, just the timing of Phantasme is bad. If the deck actually had to link summon very early, then sure, but if you Phantasme and draw into hand traps, they're now useless. So I think Phantasme is much better when you're playing board breakers instead of hand traps. I already made a video on that. But yeah, it's not necessarily that it's a bad card, it's just that it's a card that you have to play with caution. Anyways, next up we've got a Snake Eye, so pure Snake Eye. And another weird thing that I realized here is that they are playing this deck as a combo deck, and I am absolutely not sure if I like that. First of all, there's 2 Oak and 2 Flamberge, so I understand that you don't really want to lose too hard to Soul Release. That's fine. I mean, the 2 Oak I think is completely overkill because you can recycle back with Sunlight Wolf anyways. And it's not like it's a Garnet, like even if you draw the 1 of, you summon it from the hand, so who cares? And it's a brick at the end of the day, like you're not trying to draw it. The Birch is also a brick, it's not involved in any combo. And then the second Flamberge is 100% useless, there's infinite ways of recurring it back. Even if you don't want to go like Sunlight Wolf to recycle it back from the graveyard to the hand, or Promethean Princess to revive it back from the grave to the field, you can still go Populous in order to place it in the spell and trap zone. And then you can send it either with the original Sinful Spell Snake Eye, or with the effect of your Ash or Oak, and then summon another monster, and then trigger the effect of Flamberge to revive back 2 monsters. So that is the reason why I just am not a fan whatsoever of playing multiple Flamberge. It's just, again, going to be bad more often to draw. Now there's just more bricks, and also Jet Synchron I don't like whatsoever. If you are playing Jet Synchron, then you're committing to playing this deck as a combo deck. You're trying to make a big board, and you are playing into Nibiru, 100%. Like, your 1-card combo is not going to be doing much if you get nibbed, because your lines are just way more obvious. Like, you're obviously trying to go into like a Borreload Savage and a Baron de Fleur, which, first of all, I don't even know how the Baron is like consistently summoned. Maybe there's something I'm missing, but it just looks like very, yeah, I don't know, yeah. I mean, hold on a second, using itself in Flamberge just like, yeah, I mean, it's the Formula Synchron that you're using with the Flamberge, but like, come on, it's also just really weak again. Like, you just need a lot in order to do very little. Playing this deck as like an actual Diabellstar Snake Eye deck with a Silvara is just a little better, and playing it safe, because Jet Synchron, you're also discarding cards. You're negging a lot, and you're making yourself more vulnerable. I'll already explain that. And this build is playing, I mean, a decent amount of hand traps, 3, 6, 9, 10. Only 1 Imperm is just really shocking to see, and it's not like you can really justify it by saying that, oh yeah, it's a cross-out target because it's a 1-of. But yeah, 2 original Sinful Spell Snake Eye, I guess I like that. And yeah, okay, I mean, the rest of the deck is somewhat standard, so I don't really care too much. Overall, really cool deck. I am a big fan of pure Snake Eye. And the side deck has double copies of Soul Release, as well as, what else is interesting? I mean, yeah, Forbidden Droplet, again, the same pattern for stopping Scythe, so yeah, it makes sense why people are playing it. Another Nibiru, just weird to have like 1-ofs in the main deck and then side more 1-ofs that you can't even search, and then Duster with no thrust. The Sinful Spells of Subversion, Snake Eye, that's actually a decent card. You can search it of the Populace and get rid of like Vanity's Fiend and stuff like that. So it's actually a decent card. And then the whatever reboot, whatever, I mean, it makes sense again. Whatever, I would play this deck completely differently, that's my thing. Voiceless Voice, very good deck, very consistent deck. The power level is not that high necessarily. It's a deck that can play a lot of hand traps, and it only needs 1 or 2 cards to play. So the 1-card combos are Novox and Diviner. If you have any of them, you are ending on 2 to 3 interruptions. Depends on how you want to play it out. I mean, maybe not 3, actually. I mean, yeah, whatever. You can do whatever you want. Like, there's a lot of ways to play it out, but yeah, it's a very good deck. And like, again, there's all obviously other ways to play, like either Saphira or Silent Forcing Barrier, or Pre-Preparation of Rites. Makes sense that there's only 2 pre-prep because it's not that good. It's not as good as Saphira or Silent Forcing Barrier. And it combos with less cards because then you're searching the Ritual spell, and that can only be used in order to use like light monsters as materials. So if you want to play like Fenrir in the TCG, you can't do that. Whereas you can use Fenrir with like Saphira or the Horus Engine. So I can make it like a full video on that. The extra deck, whatever. I mean, it's an extravagance deck in at least in here. So there's a lot of 2-ofs. And the side deck, no summon limit, but rather anti-spell. I do find it to be interesting. And there's no odd-eyes monsters, so negating Branded Fusion against Despia is looking to be pretty difficult because unfortunately for you, Skull Guardian negates the activation, not the effect. The Odd Eyes negates the effect, not the activation. And against Despia, you want to negate the effect of Branded Fusion, not the activation, because first of all, if they have a second one, they could use it, or if they have Branded Laws, they can prevent you from negating the activation, but they can't prevent you from negating the effect. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. I mean, it should. I think I explained it relatively clearly. And the Droll and Logburn in the side deck is actually very interesting because I think the other builds are playing Droll in the main deck here and here. Actually, yeah, 2 of, and then the other deck was also 2 of, but here it's just in the side deck. This deck is already playing like 12 hand traps, so that's a lot. 3, 3, 9, what? Oh my god. 14 hand traps and 4 pots. Yeah, okay, yeah, you're not losing going second, but Nibiru, again, against like Fire King players who want to play it safe, Nibiru is just not going to be doing anything. Nibiru is especially here because people are so scared of Soul Release that they're just not playing Barong. They're trying to rely on Sunlight Wolf to recycle back the Kirin that they destroy with the Garunix. So that's the reason why Nibiru is just being so good right now. It's not, again, because it's good against Fire King, it's not, but rather because it's good against Fire King players. Huge difference. Different Dimension Ground is very interesting. I guess on your opponent's turn, your monsters are not really being sent to the grave. But on your own turn, they are. So, yeah, I guess it's just like a floodgate on the opponent's turn. But it's also not like you can say that you're playing Thrust. So I don't really understand why DDG is here. I guess you just want something very powerful to, like, prevent your opponent from keep on playing. Because the ceiling level of this deck is not that high. You're not making, like, an unbreakable board. You're just making an inconvenient board. So it's still something. But yeah, anyways, Despia is like the really interesting deck. Like this is a pile deck, but it makes a lot of sense. So first of all, this deck plays a lot of hand traps and it also plays lawn mowing, so that grass looks greener. And it plays a lot of ways to get to Branded Fusion even without Branded Fusion, because again, they only have 1 Branded Fusion, 1 Branded Opening, even though they have 3 Aluber. Their main way of getting into Branded Fusion would be to go Albion the Shrouded Dragon to send the Retribution, and then find a way to send the Saronir to the grave in order to send the other one. So just like that, you can recycle back your Branded Fusion. And because of the fact that it's a one-of, you also have Tragedy's effect that can reset it back, or your second Retribution. So yeah, it's a one-of that you can keep on looping again and again and again. And there's a really cool combo lines with Branded and High Spirits and Blazing Cartesia and Guiding Quem. So everything here has been explained by Akira, so big shoutouts to you, my man. This deck is actually very scary. If you know what you're doing, you don't even... I mean, it's not like that you don't need Branded Fusion. You obviously need the card, but you can play through a Branded Fusion that's getting ashed. Because this is like the combo version of Despia. It's not like whatever you're used to back in 2022, when people were playing like Fred for Patchwork to like Summon Guardian Chimera. Now this deck is completely different. So yeah, I mean, it's also like a deck that sometimes summons the Gimmick Puppet when it can, but it's not like an absolute necessity. You can still win without the Gimmick Puppet, obviously. So this deck is not... this deck is not a gimmick. But yeah, a lot of really nice plays that you can do. Obviously, this deck loses very, very hard to Dimensional Barrier Calling Fusion, but nobody is playing Dimensional Barrier other than Labyrinth, so I guess that's a good thing for you. This deck does lose, however, to Anti-Spell, which is the reason why I would not be playing Harpy's Feather Duster. I would only be playing Cosmic Cyclone and Twin Twister. So I do disagree with that, and I even disagree with Thrust, but I guess going first, it's good, because you're usually just... I mean, you're only really afraid of getting ashed on your Branded Fusion, so you can go Thrust to, like, get, like, and there's no Fusion Duplication here, which I find to be interesting. But yeah, you would be able to go into, like, Fusion Duplication, copy the effect of Branded Fusion on the opponent's turn, and just play from there. So that's actually pretty good. Shuttle Fusion, again, in the side deck with the Shuttle Beast in the main deck. Worst case, you just mill it with the Lawn Mowing and you draw 1 card. But in the side deck, you summon El Shuttle Abkalone, and it's basically the equivalent of Soul Release. I mean, it's more of like a Dark World Puppetry, because you banish up to 3 cards from either graveyard, and with the effect of Ariel, and you also use the effect of Abkalone to negate a face-up card on the field. This card applies so much pressure on its own, it allows you to basically just break the board immediately. So yeah, this card is like, I mean, this engine is like extremely scary. And again, you're very scared of the Artifact Dagda combo, so Forbidden Droplet is like everywhere, but it does make sense. And finally, I think I can finally understand why Flunderies is doing better. I guess it must be because everybody's, I mean, not everybody, but at least the Fire King deck is now just going for the Scythe combo, which obviously does nothing against Flunderies. But yeah, Lancia is still very good against them. Shifter obviously is your God card, and Dimensional Fissure, just like Ritual Beast. And then Featherstorm when you're post game 1, when you're going first. But yeah, there's no Wind Bearer statue, so I guess they're like us. One pot of prosperity is the unfortunate thing, but they do have extravagance, so they can still play 4 pots, no problem. I mean 7 pots because of duality. That card's so stupid. And 4 field spells. Yeah, everything else is like intact. Yeah, it's obviously very far from being full power Flunderies. Very high consistency level. And it's really interesting to see that in the OCG, they're main decking the Apex Avian and only 2 Eaglin. I used to do that, and then people told me I was stupid and that you have to go with like 3 Eaglin and 0 Apex. This is more of a side deck card for going first on game 2 or 3. Honestly, I agree with that. Yeah. 1 Thrust for the Feather Storm is absolutely disgusting, or evenly when you're going second. But this deck has a very low ceiling going second. I mean, if your normal summon play doesn't go through, you're usually just not doing jack shit. But yeah, really annoying deck, and I hope this deck dies. Anyways, in conclusion, Fire King's still best deck, and it's 3 times better than the second best deck, which is Snake Eye. This deck is, I mean, Snake Eye is just one of the decks that I'm really looking into because it looks like it has a lot of potential and a lot of untapped potential, but I'm not a really big fan of how people are playing it. A lot of things I really disagree with. And Fire King, I mean, it's that kind of deck that's always going to be doing well because it's very streamlined. Everybody knows what they're trying to do with the deck. And, you know, it's a reliable deck. It's relatively consistent, and the power level is decent, while having usually just good matchups all across the table. It doesn't really auto-lose to anything, other than Shifter, obviously. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.